Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. So today the video is about getting control of your life and getting what you want. There was the book The Secret, which was a worldwide phenomenon, and everyone was all about manifesting. But for a lot of people that ended up getting the book, it didn't exactly work out. Although the concept is very real and very true that manifesting is real and that like attracts like. When we look at things from a physical point of view, we're often not really looking at the big picture, which is why it's not going to work. So if we're saying, for instance, I want to be super rich and super popular, and I'm going to manifest that, and let's make it happen by next year. And then you snap your fingers and it doesn't really work. All of the things we're asking for are actually physical alterations to our reality as opposed to internal changes to our reality. So, the fundamental key to getting what you want and getting control of your life is to understand that the physical realm or the physical world is a plane of existence that's actually controlled by higher planes of existence. As we move up in these concepts or existences, we're getting closer and closer to our true self, and we're actually getting further and further away from the physical world or matter. So you've got the etheric plane and you've got the astral plane, which I'm sure you've heard about. And it can get very confusing, but the basic premise is I look at it like focusing an arrow. The point at which you're focusing the arrow, even the slightest alteration up or down or sideways, can make huge impacts the further out it goes. So imagine that the target that we're hitting is the physical reality that we're in, and the point at which we're shooting is in that etheric plane where there is no matter. It's just consciousness. So if you're able to get yourself into more and more of your understanding of your own spirit and your spiritual intentions, then you're going to be closer and closer to where you're actually shooting that arrow. And that is where you can make change in your life that works. And it's like, fad diets or trying to make slight alterations on a superficial level. It just never works. And the reason for it is because it's superficial. You are trying to make a change over at that target as opposed to where you're shooting the arrow from. And that makes complete sense, right? I know several people who will procrastinate or they'll always be late to appointments. And there's always something to that. There's a reason why they're fighting against the system, because they'll agree to something that they really don't want to agree to on a spiritual level. So I had a really profound experience with this lately where my life has changed dramatically, not just from where I moved to, but also how I look at parenting and how I've sort of divided up my time. I used to have a full-time job, and it was a creative job, and people would say, oh my gosh, that's a great job. And it was fun while it lasted, but I've really stepped away from it because I want parenting to be more all-inclusive. And I've done this for a couple months, and it's incredible for me, the changes that it's made. And that's not for everybody, but for me on a spiritual level, I thought I wanted one thing, and I realized I wanted something totally different. There's also other levels and layers to this. Our consciousness is creating the reality around us, but it's sort of a joint consciousness because it's you and me and our neighbor and our best friend, and we all join together these consciousnesses to create this environment, this world that we're in. The more that we all as a collective believe that this matter is the reality, the more disconnected we become from our true self or our true spiritual reality. And right now, you can definitely sense that there's a shift happening and people are getting more in touch with their true self. As difficult as this time has been in the last couple years, it's been some of the darkest days, I think, for most people's lives. It's also been some of the most revealing because they have found out when you strip away all the nonsense, you find out who you really are, what you really, really want. And that allows for you to see possibilities that you didn't even think were possible. It's also interesting because, the world does push in media and in advertising, it pushes what success looks like. And I've honestly never met a really rich person that's totally happy. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, there's a few, but what truly makes us happy, it comes from within. And it's Definitely not about how much you have externally, but what you have internally. I look at it like an orange. You know, my mom actually told this to me when I was, I think, about 12 years old. I can look at an orange as a 12-year-old and I can say, okay, well, it's got an orange peel and it smells a certain way, and there's wedges in the orange and there's seeds. But God can look at an orange and see a whole nother world open up, you know? And so sometimes when we think, oh, well, that's passe, we've figured that out and we played with that toy and we need a new toy and we're on to the next thing, there's so much that's left behind. You can take that as like gardening. When we're younger, we might say, oh, gardening is boring. It's like watching plants grow. I mean, there's so many more exciting things to do with your life. And then we get into our teens and our 20s and we just want that fix, you know, the adrenaline rush. And we get addicted to stimulation. We get addicted to quick fixes. Over the last couple years, I think we have done a detox of it in some of the ways, not necessarily social media, but in some of the ways of our life of our quick fixes, you know, going out and drinking with friends or, you know, venting to so-and-so. We've gone more internal and we've done more internal work and spiritual work. It's given us the ability to re-look at gardening or re-look at house cleaning, things that we thought were mundane. Look at these activities in a whole new light. It's like maybe there's more to the orange than I first thought when I was 12 years old. And so tracking back to that ethereal plane that I was talking about, or where we're shooting the arrow from, when we fixate too much on these kind of superficial or physical desires and passions and activities, then we're really never going to be able to get the right answer because we're looking at the question all wrong. The question is really not, what does the world say you want? The question is, what does your true self really want? A friend asked me a couple days ago, how are you? And I was kind of stunned, like I didn't even know what to say. We're all so socially awkward lately, but it's becoming harder and harder for me to answer that question unless I have somebody, you know, like on these videos or in a deep, in-depth conversation, not with like little kids running around. I can't exactly say how I am because I'm great in a spiritual sense, but so much of what I do and so much of my time and so much of my energy is just what other people would consider mundane. And so it's like I don't even have these pinpoints of, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, because it's no longer a checklist or sort of a, look at me, my life is so fantastic, you know, what you would post on Instagram and such. And I think a lot of us are in the same boat because we have started enjoying expressing this internal life and just spending our time and energy not for what makes us look good to others, but for what we're really enjoying and what we really look forward to. Our time and our day and our energy and our thoughts and our activities will become less of this kind of addictive high, and it will just become more of this ocean, serene, peaceful flow of energy. Less lonely than ever because you will be tapping into who you truly are. And you won't be willing to change that for anyone or anything. And that is real self-love. And when you get down to it, I think that that is what our higher self is always craving. To be truthful, to be who we are, to express that truth, come hell or high water, and to revel in it. So I hope this makes your day a little bit brighter, and take care and get ready for the next video. Love and light to you.